Hey friend, welcome to the treehouse. Want to come inside? Oh, wait, just one last thing. All right, let's go inside. Welcome everyone to Frame by Frame. I'm Phil Ebiner and I'm so excited to have you here today. I hope you're having an amazing week and we are back on YouTube. I thank you for being patient. Last week we tested out the Circle live stream and I liked a lot about it. I liked the engagement. However, I didn't like the end result of the video. I think the quality wasn't as high. However, as everything is, we'll continue to experiment and make this as good as it can be for both people watching live and the replay. But yeah, thank you for being here. I hope you're having a great day. Let me know who is tuning in live. If this is your first time here, we've got an exciting photo challenge to review today that is going to be pretty inspiring, I think, on Essence of Hope. And let me know, make sure you're all hearing me, seeing me live. So today, that's what we're going to do, starting from the bottom, Essence of Hope reviews. And then I've got something else that I want to share with you, but I'm just going to wait a minute because I want to wait till we have a few more people in the stream. And I have another course idea. This is one that I'm so on the fence about creating, but I feel like it's partially my responsibility to create. I just don't know. But the course idea that I have, and before you judge or get any ideas, is an AI for photography course, but done in a way that is not how to make photos with AI, but how to use AI tools responsibly as a photographer that maintains the integrity as a photographer. Because there are a lot of tools out there that are really intriguing in ways, AI tools for like helping with organizing, helping with like upscaling resolutions and things like that. So for a lot of photographers who are considering upgrading to a full frame camera, for example, you might not need to do that anymore because there's AI tools that can scale up the resolution, decrease noise, do a lot of things that would be reasons to upgrade cameras. Also, maybe how to use AI tools for like planning and more of the organization, business side of photography. I'm not sure. I feel like it's a topic that if you've watched the stream before and heard me talk about it, I'm very anti-AI in terms of using AI to create images. However, I know that people are doing that now, and it's almost, in a way, it's a renaissance in being a photographer because as a photographer now, we can't compete with AI in creating images of anything because AI can do that now. And really, it's coming back to why are we doing photography in the first place? And that's partially because of the joy of getting out there and capturing the photo yourself. If all we cared about was the end result, we would just sit behind a keyboard and type in a prompt to get that photo. But if you're like me, the joy is about getting out there and capturing the photo ourselves. And so, anyways, it's an idea. I'd be curious to know what you think about it, and if that would be a course you're interested in or not. Morning, Jolene, Barbara. Hello. Thank you for being here live. The other thing that I'm going to share, and I guess I'll go ahead and share now. I teased this last week, is based off of the survey results, based off of the way things are moving with the community. For a while, we've had the community offer, or the supporter offer, which is just a way for you to support me here, us behind the scenes, to run the show, to run the community. It's not free. It's quite expensive to host every month. And the honest truth is that the photography course sales on platforms like Udemy have declined dramatically over the years. And so those no longer support the continuation of the community, which it used to be this great sort of circle of life where we provided the community for free, and that fed the courses fed the support for that. So trying to think of ways to continue to maintain the support necessary to make the community even better, and to make sure that Sam and Will can get back here doing trainings with us, doing course updates, and that kind of thing. So the supporter option has always been there as just sort of a way that you can support us, but I'm trying to ramp that up into something that might be a little bit more enticing, because not a lot of people become supporters. So let me share a screen, and I'm also going to share a link with you in the chat for you to check out this page. Let's see if I can get the right button. All right, so you can go here right now, and we're going to get to the Essence of Hope Weekly Challenge very soon. I'm going to post the link into the chat now. You can go to this page now, and what I want you to do is just to check it out. You can do it while we're on the stream. That would be great. It is a new sort of pitch for becoming a supporter. It adds a couple things that might be more enticing. And there's one change that I'm on the fence about. And you can see the big difference, the options here. But basically, you'll also notice in the Photography and Friends community, I think you can see this, just a hint at what this would look like. The supporter space, which is here, would be updated to more of a specific photo critiques or support space for supporters, and not just one general chat space. We would have the supporter live chat, which would be more of like a Slack style messaging forum. That didn't work before, but I think we could ramp that up. We would be doing a monthly exercise or a theme. I'm not exactly sure what to call this, but every month, on top of the weekly challenges, we would focus on one area of photography, and likely this would be voted on by supporters. So whether that's landscape photography, portrait photography, editing, learning how to use Lightroom, learning how to use another app, AI for photography, any number of topics, we would add a new sort of exercise that we could all be working on throughout the month. And there would be a monthly photographer showcase where I put together, either highlight one of the supporters or one of the photographers per month and what they're doing, or maybe it's a showcase of several photographers. This is all based off of the feedback that I got in my long survey that I sent. What most of you said was you don't want more content. You don't need more courses. You don't need more tutorials or lessons. What you want and what you like from Photography and Friends is the feedback from me and the support that you get from your fellow students. The other feedback I got was from several members who have been here for a long time, is that they loved Photography and Friends the way that it was in the beginning, where it was more of this cohort style learning, and it was a smaller group, and you could really like get to know each other. We did some live calls and things like that. That might be something I would consider, although I want to just make sure that it's something that is sustainable as well. So please check out that link right now. And I have a 2-question survey. I know the last one was way too long, And so this is just a simple 2-question survey. If you have the time to do this today or in the next few days, this would be very, very helpful. And I'll just type this in the chat. For those of you joining in live, basically what I'm doing is I am sharing a new supporter option as sort of an upgraded tier for our community. The reason behind this is that there's a sense from students from the survey results that some people want more. They want more of me. They want more of the community. And then on my end, I'm trying to just make sure that this is a sustainable place for our members. So I'm creating this vision for a supporter membership that is a little bit higher tier, higher quality. The biggest difference, and I don't want to shy away from the elephant in the room, is that one idea right now is that the live frame by frame show would be only available to supporters, whereas the replay would be accessible to everyone. And I don't know if that's the right decision or not. I don't know if that affects you or not, if it would be something where, yeah, paying $5 a month would be totally worth it to continue getting the get access to the live show, as well as priority feedback during the live stream and outside of the feedback, or maybe not. Or maybe, as you'll see in the survey, that's worth $19 a month, $9 a month, or not at all. And I want to hear the good, the bad, anything that you have to make this better or worse, if it's just something that you're not interested in at all. And let me just post this survey really quick. And I will post these links into the probably into the community in an announcement as well, just to get your ideas. But yes, all feedback is good feedback. And thank you for checking this out and helping out. All right, we are going to get into the weekly challenge, Essence of Hope. And what's also coming back today are the ratings. I got a lot of people saying they want the ratings back. So I'm still going to do what I really liked what I was doing in the previous few weeks of, for each photo, I share 1 or 2 things I like about it and 1 or 2 things that could be an improvement, because I think that helped kind of speed along and not get bogged down with like talking about one photo too long. So that's still what I'm going to do, but I will be giving you a 1 through 5 rating, which I guess for some people was pretty helpful. At least the feedback I got from many members was that it gave them sort of a reference point for where they were. And I don't know, it's just my opinion. So as I always say, don't take my opinion with too much, I don't know, take it with a grain of salt. That's the phrase I'm trying to say. Let me know also, do those links to the Google form and the supporter space page offer, do those show up in the chat? Can you click on those links? Let me know. All right, that's enough blabbing. It's 15 minutes into the show. Let's go. So let's get into the Essence of Hope challenge. Now, this is a challenge where we're going to see a lot of just a variety of photos. It's a theme-based challenge. It's not a style. It's not a composition. It's not a technique. It's not a subject. And so we're going to see a lot of things here. And let's get into it. So this is Idale. Idale, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, with this photo. Looks like at some sort of like church service. I really like the moment and the story. It definitely is this essence of hope. The lighting is very nice as well on this lady. And even coming from behind her, I think you captured, her emotion. Usually I would say, oh, I want to see her face to really capture that emotion, but it feels like you're standing right there with her, hear her singing, praying, very hopeful. I think my one probably critique would be, or not critique, but just a tiny area of improvement would be, this is a tough one, but the shutter speed was probably just too slow to capture her hand and that movement perfectly sharp. You see a tiny bit of motion blur. And so that could be improved. But overall, it's a solid photo. I'm going to give this one a 3. Great photo, good composition, good lighting, good editing, and yeah, just solid photo. All right, Sharath, this is a photo amidst a sea of strangers. All right, what do I like about this photo? 2 things. I like the shallow depth of field aspect of it. I like that. That's just a nice, aesthetically pleasing aspect. You also have like this nice leading lines of this bridge or this tunnel that you're standing in. I think my area for improvement is, one, since the hand and the bell are like the main highlight of your photo, like the main subject, I'd probably try to brighten those up or give them more contrast or something so that they stand out a little bit. It kind of just fades into the background. Maybe even crop. I don't know if I would want to crop up or something, or I kind of wish is either seeing this person's head, like more of it or less of it, because it kind of distracts from just like the hand itself, because it is in focus. Maybe even blurring that out with like a little filter. You could do like a little brush or gradient filter, linear gradient in Lightroom, and kind of drop that sharpness. I think that would be pretty nice. But overall, I think it's just like one sort of exposure, and getting a little bit more contrast or something in the hand, I think could help it. So for this one, I'm going to give it a 2. I think there's a lot of room for improvement with editing, but in terms of the Essence of Hope's theme, I think it's really good. All right, Donnie Hyatt, photo of 3 granddaughters playing music. All right, what do I like about this photo? I mean, it's a great, just in the moment photo of kids playing, which I love that, and just like one of those like day-to-day scenes that you'll look back on this photo a couple years from now and really appreciate having this photo. Lighting is really nice too, especially on your sort of main subject. It looks like just natural light, but the way you edited, exposure, contrast is really, I like it. One area for improvement would be to change the angle of just a little bit so that you could see the 2 girls' faces, not blocked by the saxophone. I also think that if you were at more of an angle and you could see the saxophone more clearly, that would have been nicer anyways, without the distraction of the girls in the background. Not that they're a distraction, but just that the shapes and colors of their clothes, their faces, their hair, it makes the saxophone not stand out from the background a little bit more. And I think having that profile shot is actually kind of cool of the saxophone, and the granddaughter playing it. I just think that with the granddaughters in the background, you kind of want to see them. It is kind of funny that they're playing on their phone, and then you have one playing on the saxophone. It's kind of a funny, interesting contrast of like tactile instrument versus digital. Now I'm looking too much into it, but solid 3 for me for this one. Maybe would have been a 4 if you could see those girls in the background. All right. Thank you, Donnie, as always, for posting. All right, John. If you are watching live and this is your first time here, welcome, and let me know where you're tuning in from. And if this is your first time posting to the weekly challenge, welcome. I know this was a little bit of a harder one. We didn't get as many posts. Next week, we're going to have to do like an all-nighter because I think it's the shallow depth of field challenge, and we're getting a lot of photos there. All right, John Flandez. Classic sort of interior shot of a church statue. I like the angle. It's just like part of like just the architecture and the placement of statues and things in these big old churches is to feel like it's godly, otherworldly, looking up at these statues. So that's really nice. I like the colors and the edits too. The colors, but also the editing of the colors really a lot too. I like that. The bronzes and the golds that you get coming through. In terms of a room for improvement, hey Carrie B, what's up? Welcome from Wisconsin. Thank you for tuning in. In terms of something that you could improve, it's very similar to the last shot where the statue is sort of our main subject, but because you're shooting at this angle, you have this pillar behind them, and the focus of the pillar and the colors and the exposures behind our statue are so close to the statue that the statue kind of just blends into the background. Whereas if you were at just slightly more of an angle, kind of like see how the cross stands out from the background because the background's blurrier, the background's brighter. If you could get that face of the statue to stand out just a little bit more, I think that would be helpful. So for this photo, it's good. I'm like a 2 or 3. There's nothing really wrong with this photo at all. It just doesn't stand out to me that much creatively or thematically. I don't know what I would do in this specific area to for this photo to make it like way better. So I'm gonna give it a 2 for me. Again, that is totally my own opinion. So take that with how you want it. All right, Cesar Guzman. Photo of the statue looks like Saint Mary. Mary, yes. Okay, so nice, hopeful imagery here. What I like about it was the effort to light it with this candle, but also like getting the candle in the frame is really nice as well. I think a room for improvement would be the focus seems to be kind of soft on the statue. I don't know if that's because the focus is off or because there's like a high ISO or something. Everything feels a little soft. I feel like the one candle is nice. It might have been nicer if you had a couple candles to like place some in the foreground, some in the background, something like that. Or maybe place the candle or angle it just off to the side a little bit so it doesn't feel like the candle is so much right in front of the statue. You could probably even, might be a fun one to play around with darkening the background. Just to have the statue pop from the background a little bit more, maybe even brighten up the subject just a little bit brighter. So another one where pretty good attempt. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5 for my rating, and I think there's some room for improvement with a little bit of trying to get a little bit more creative with the framing, something, lighting, just to make it pop just a little bit more. All right. Anya Mas, my first film photo with my grandpa's old camera. I love that because my first film photos came from my grandpa's old cameras too. So it sounds like, and the story behind it is a newly engaged couple wanted something similar to the painting of the creation of Adam. While I really like the effort in doing it with film, it makes it a lot harder to capture things exposed the way that you might want it. It's a nice, I don't mind the silhouette at all. I actually kind of like the silhouette that you get here. I think something I would improve, which you could probably easily do even with the film if you got the digital, like a digital transfer of it, would be to crop in just to center the hands in the frame. Crop out this little shadow on the left, and you would crop in just a little bit just so the hands are more like centered in this frame, and then bring up the exposure of the background just to make that silhouette pop just a little bit more. But I'm gonna give this one a 3 just because I like the effort shooting in film, the story behind it. I really like as well. The exposure on the hands I actually really like. It's not like completely silhouetted. You see a little bit of detail in the edges of the hands and fingers, which I like in a silhouette, seeing some of those details still. All right, Sanjay Dura with this photo of New Beginning, the young fern. I like this take on the essence of hope, a new plant growing. I like the textures from the plant, and I like the way that new part of this plant pops from the background. In terms of improvements for this photo, maybe being a little bit closer to this part of the new plant. Right now it feels like you're kind of far away, so you don't really get to see the details of what is kind of the subject of your photo. At the same time, I kind of like this big sort of flat texture pattern of all the ferns. So yeah, it might be something where I would have cropped like a portrait, put the new part of the fern at the bottom center or something, rather than like a wide shot. I don't know, maybe not. I can tell you did a little bit of vignetting probably in post, which I actually think is pretty subtle and nice for this photo. It does draw our eye to the center. I think it's mostly just wanting to be a little bit closer or something to see the details here. That's my personal opinion. In terms of a rating, I think I'm gonna give this one a 3 as well. And I give a lot of 3s for ratings because when it's on theme, when it's exposed properly, when compositionally it's not like totally off, when the focus is decent, when it's good, then it's kind of just 3 is the bar. When there's not like something that dramatically could easily improve it, it's going to be a 3. All right, David with this sunset on People Tree at the Churi Paidi Ghat in Pushkar, Rajasthan, India. Nice. Well, lovely little street photography, travel photography going around, seeing this for David. What I like about it is the lighting. I like that warmth you get from the sunset. I like the focus is very sharp on all of these relics, things that are at the offerings at this tree. I like the balance of like the tree sizing to the background, a little bit rule of thirds, but very nice. Trying to think what I would improve. Maybe I would just pick one of these posts right here on the wall in the back and use that to level the background. And so straighten that out just a little bit, make sure that these lines are level, but it's not terribly off. And I don't know what that would do to like the lines or the spacing of everything else if you used this post or this line or one of these horizontal lines to level out. Maybe something that would be more interesting is if you were back and you actually got a little bit more of this background in the frame. You can see the rooftops in the background, and right now like it's all out of focus, but like if you could see more of that skyline in the background, it might make this photo more interesting. All that being said, that's the background. The foreground's pretty good. You're cropping out some of the things here, but I don't necessarily mind that. I might have even cropped in or panned to the left just a little bit. Because you're cropping on the bottom, maybe crop a little bit more out of the tree and the things leaning up against the tree. But overall, really nice photo. This one stands out to me, and so I'm going to give it a 4. All right, Mauricio. I see myself as a dim room, heavy and inward. The light that's reaching in represents my higher power, hope, and the good things that await me. Nice. Very clean photo. Really like the lighting. Jolene, I see a comment. The link is not working for the supporter site. Let's see. Try. I'm going to post it again in a separate link. Let me know if that's still not working. All right. Lovely minimalistic image. I really like this. I like the light coming through the window. I don't know if it's as essence of hope for me or for most people looking at this, but I can appreciate that for you, this is what you feel is the essence of hope. And I really, it's just like a nice, it's got this filmic, almost cinematic quality to it. So very good. Anything that I might do for improvement? This line is this frame of the window is just slightly off being perfectly straight up and down. And I think because this is such like a cleaned photo, I would probably use that line to straighten it out so that the edge is perfect. I might even use some sort of radial filter or brush to darken up this area of the photo where you see this TV and this wire hanging down. It's just such a distraction from the rest of the photo and like the niceness of the window, the silhouetting, the shadows. So I might darken that up just as a creative thing that you can do. I really like this photo though. And I think it's funny because I think, well, people might be like, Phil, why would you give that one a 4, which I'm going to give a 4, not some of these other ones? But that's my personal opinion. It's just I like the aesthetics and that balance and the colors and everything. Yeah, really cool photo. All right, Koshala Pereira with this photo. Hope doesn't glow, it endures. Very cool creative edit. Not everyone's cup of tea is like removing the color of the background, but I think for this photo, it probably makes these monks pop from the background quite a bit. Otherwise, all the colors and the people in the background would be such a much more distracting. So I think for this photo, for the creative aspect of it's pretty good use of that technique. And I think my area for improvement would be, I think this would have been a good opportunity to get that camera low, get it eye level with the kids on the ground so that you can really see their faces a little bit more or be on their level. And even that sort of upward angle would add to this essence of hope style. You can use these camera placement basically to give off emotion. And I think that upward angle would really help here. Maybe even being a little bit in front of them so that you could see all of their faces and they wouldn't be covering each other. For this one, I think I would give it a 3 as well. It's in focus. Exposures are pretty good. Creative use of the edit, not something that I would probably do most times, but I think for this case, it works. All right, Mubin. Hope is daring to look again. That's interesting. I without that text, I wouldn't caption. I don't know if I would have thought this as hope at all, but the focus is really good. Very sharp image of this. What is this, like a ground squirrel, something like that? I actually like the angle too. So this is one where like the angle of this ledge going diagonal through the frame is very natural and very nice. So I like that. And even though this is one where, even though the colors are all very similar, and even the exposures are very similar between the background, the foreground, and our subject, because the focus is so shallow and everything is so blurry in the background and in the foreground, it works, and our eye isn't distracted by what's in the background or foreground. The only thing that my eye is a little bit distracted by is this little piece right here that's in focus. I might have tried to like use a brush or something to blur that out just a little bit so that our focus remains on the animal. So overall, very solid photo. I think photo-wise, it's a 4 for me. So I'll give you a 4. But essence of hope, maybe deduct half a point. Not sure if that's not something that I think most people would get from just seeing the photo alone. All right, Eric Harvey. Eric Harvey with the Living Within Nature brand. Red wolf looking up because the red wolf is a perfect example of hope. That's, again, probably wouldn't know that just by looking at the photo. I wouldn't know the backstory of the red wolf. However, this compared to the last photo, I think gives off that essence of hope a bit more because you have the wolf looking up. Also, again, the subject stands out really well from the background, both color-wise, the contrast between the greens and then the colors of the wolf, but also the sharpness and focus is really, really nice. I like the angle, the crop, balance, foreground, background, pretty good. I might have used some sort of subject mask or something and then brought up the shadows and texture of the wolf's fur just a tiny bit. The wolf's fur, especially in the foreground here, it's in the shadows, so it's naturally going to be darker, but just so we can see the wolf just a little bit more, maybe boost that exposure just a little bit. But otherwise, I really like this photo, and the looking up has that essence of hope right within it. These two pieces of grass do kind of bug me. I wish they weren't there. You could remove those with like a healing brush or something, or cropping in, but I'd rather want like more of those or less. Obviously, you can't control that when you're out there photographing red wolves in the wild. That's very hard. But I really like this photo. I'm going to give this one a 5. Stands out to me. This one, the effort to get this photo is really difficult, so you get some extra credit for that. All right, Agnes Hahn. This was another one where reading the caption is great. And I actually really like that sometimes you do need words to tell the whole story of a photo. So Agnes was new here, mentions that this was a hidden sign of hope, remembering the COVID times and the thought that it would never end. And the mask on the ground is a sign for them that there is hope in the darkest hours and things are always changing with time. So that's a very nice sentiment, even though I don't like the fact that this mask is like trash on the ground. And I don't think any of us want to go back to a time where we have to mask, but proud that we did that, and thankful to everyone who helped protect the people who were vulnerable in that time, including, people close to me that might not be here if people weren't wearing masks and protecting each other. Also know people who sadly passed due to COVID. So not good times. But this photo, nicely, the things I like about it, focus is very nice, and I like that reflective symmetry that you get being close to the ground, getting that camera really close to the ground. You get that nice reflection. I like the balance, the rule of thirds. The mask stands out from the background really nicely. The exposure is nice on it. The background's dark, pops really, really cool. I think aesthetically, like looking at a mask on the ground is not very nice. It's not like pleasing to look at, but photography isn't about just seeing what's pleasing. So I think this one tells a good story. I think my one room for improvement, it's a little close to the edge. I think if it was like 10% turned to the left or cropped to the left, I think it would have a little tiny bit more balance, because it feels a little close to the edge. But otherwise, really good photo, quality wise, focus, everything is there that makes this a good photo. And it's like a 4 or 5 for me. I'm not sure, maybe a 5. All right, I haven't given many 5s or 4s today, so I'm gonna give it a 5. Aesthetically though, nice, beautiful image of a mask on the ground. I don't know if you could photograph a mask that's dirty on the ground like that more beautifully. All right, Thomas here. Thomas has shared some fire breathing breathing fire photos in the past. This is an epic one. I love the texture you get with the flames. You ramp that up. The color also, I like the color vibe that you got here with the sort of teal to orange. And so this is a really cool photo, Thomas. Awesome job. And you really see like it's like the gasoline or whatever it is that they're spitting out to create these fire bursts. You see that coming from their mouths, which is kind of intense. And I like that, you can see even the people in the background almost watching it, and they're so out of focus, but cool photo. I think the only thing that I almost wish I had a little bit more room around the edges. Like they are close to the edges, and so because their arms and their hands are like right at the edge, I want more. I think you could probably crop this in just a little bit, even do like a square or more of a portrait crop, and it would be really nicely balanced with the two people breathing this fire. You would see the flame, you would see the end of the stick. But sometimes when like a subject or a part of the subject is so close to the edge, it feels like you want a little bit more breathing room. And I think if you had got a little bit more breathing room, you would see the top of the flame a little bit more too, which would be kind of cool. It's like I either want it cropped more or more breathing room. But that's like, nonetheless, this is a pretty epic photo, and I'm going to give it a 5 because it stands out and it's really, really well done. So really cool. Good job, Thomas. All right. Next, we have Carrie taken with iPhone during a walk in the woods after Carrie's father passed away suddenly. Sorry about that, Carrie. Oops, not opening. Yep, there we go. All right, Carrie, and I think, Carrie, you are watching this. All right, what do I like about this photo? I like and with the phone lens, you get this nice wide lens. I like that wide lens look because you get some things in the foreground as well as the background. And I like seeing these plants, these ferns on the ground, as well as the trees. So that's really nice. A room for improvement maybe would be, it's tough with the iPhone sensors or phone camera sensors, but the sun gets so blown out. It's kind of distracting having that so overexposed. So you're kind of stuck with that. I'm trying to think of a way you could have improved like that. I think if you had gotten a little bit closer to the ground, to these plants, still a very similar framing, but if the phone was closer to the plant, I think you could have had this nice, like, very symbolic image of the plant being a little closer, so seeing it clearer with more detail, but still like a wide shot looking up at these trees and the light coming in would have been nice. Maybe even angling it where you could put the camera in a spot or finding one of these plants where the sun was like shining sort of more like a spotlight on one of these plants. Would have been cool. I don't know if that was the case there. But overall, I want to say thank you for posting your photo, and I just am happy that you were here watching live with us. So thank you. And I'm going to give you a 3. It's nice, fits the theme. The focus is there. Obviously, an iPhone is going to make pretty much everything in focus. I think there's some room for improvement in terms of creativity of the composition, finding like a more specific subject or something like that. I think in this case, with the sun coming through the trees, like finding it like one thing that was more highlighted by that light would have been helpful. And like kind of looking up, more of a looking up angle. So getting that camera down closer to the ground would help with that feeling of hope as well. All right, Hong, well, you were late, but you made it in time for your photo. All right. So this looks like at some sort of like religious ceremony, several people placing their hands on the Daya, symbol of light and prosperity. Very cool. All right, so what do I like about this photo? And for anyone who's here, got here late and didn't hear me say that, the ratings are back, everyone. The ratings are back. I was getting a lot of feedback from people saying they liked the lightning bolt rating, so still doing that. Still, though, giving like 1 or 2 things I like about the photo and then 1 or 2 things that can be used for improvement. So this photo, really nice focus, the shallow depth of field, but you still get the main things that you want in focus. So like this lighted oil candle thing, the hands very nicely in focus, nice balance as well, like rule of thirds sort of balance to the frame, and just nice colors as well, good exposure too. Overall, I think the room for improvement, I like seeing the hands. I don't know if there was a way, like I feel like this hand is very clear. This hand is clear. This one too. If this was like a stock image or something that you could like direct the people, I would probably have them place their hands somewhere different. Obviously, that's not what the case is, but I think to make a stronger image, like having the placement of hands be a little bit different or changing the angle just slightly might have helped maybe being to the right just a little bit so that this center part of this bowl was in between these hands, and then you could see this hand and parts of this hand, maybe even see this hand over here a little bit more. I don't know, just like thoughts about what could make this particular setup a little stronger. I like seeing this hand too. I don't know if that was an adult or it looks like a smaller hand. I don't know if it's a kid, but being able to see that might have been nice as well. So yeah, overall though, very nice aesthetic quality. And when I say aesthetic quality, it's like, for me, that's the shallow depth of field, the colors, everything kind of stands out from the background because of the exposures, the colors, the focus. So overall, really nice photo, and I'm going to give it a 4. All right, next photo. We have Rosemarie, Determined Hope, another start of new life with these plants. All right, so this, I think if we compare this to the photo of the fern earlier, this is kind of what I was talking about, where it's a totally different photo, but also some of the advice I gave before, like for Essence of Hope, I think looking up is very nice. And there's something about the new life of the plant being at the bottom of the frame with all this area at headroom above is very nice too. It kind of creates that room for growth, that room for hope, that air above it. So I really like that. And I like the choice of doing shallow depth of field for this photo. I think if everything was in focus, this plant, the new life, would be kind of like blend into the background too much. But I also like being able to see like the detail of the moss on the tree as well. I think, again, my advice or improvement would be to be a little tighter, just a tiny bit, like 20% tighter on this. So even just cropping from the sides and the top just a little bit, just so we can see a little bit more detail. Like, you have to zoom in on this photo to really see the detail of this plant, the new life. And you kind of want people to see that and not feel like they want to squint or zoom in the photo to see that detail. I don't mean like having like a tight crop zoomed in kind of thing, but just a little bit more. So yeah, but overall, this is another nice photo. I think we're rounding out the photos here with some 4s and 5s, which balanced out the 2s and 3s that I was giving at the start of the show. All right. Celeste. You can't spell hope without HOPE. That is very true. So profound. Cool. So what do I like about this photo? I like the effort that went into making a photo like this. The choice of black and white, I think, is very nice too, because you can bump up that contrast and have the text, the letters stand out, even though they're amongst a pile of similar shapes and colors and exposures and textures. Because it's in black and white and you could really create that contrast, you can see the edges of this. So very nice balance as well. Very on the nose with the theme. So not subtle or symbolic at all. It's just like, hope, here you go. Here's hope. Gosh, what would I do to improve this? This is so silly. This is so picky. I don't know if you did this on purpose, but had the H and the O and the P up here. I would probably change those to different letters, or try to make it so that this HOP don't stand out. Like these letters on the bottom, like you can't really tell what the letters are, so they don't distract from the hope word in the middle. But these ones at the top kind of distract me a little bit. So putting a couple more letters on top or layering them a little bit more differently, I think would have helped. Otherwise, this is like a nice stock image that I could see someone selling online, and I'm going to give you a 4-star for that. Good effort. On the nose, but which I usually don't like, but it looks good. All right, Nita still takes photos using a mobile phone. Took this photo on an early morning walk. And you had a question. Notice the blue spot in this photo. Do you have any suggestion on how to avoid it when taking photos? Blue spot. Oh, probably that spot right there. Yeah. All right. So in terms of just this photo itself, I like the morning light that you get. Very nice morning light. And the leading lines of the road that you get looking down this road. Room for improvement. You might be able to guess this if you've watched frame by frame before, but it's one of those cases where it looks like the camera is eye level, which is fine. But I think just putting that camera down closer to the ground would have made the leading lines aspect of this photo just a little bit stronger and just make it just a little bit more intriguing to look at. That is a lens flare coming from the sun that you're looking directly into, which would be very hard to remove, or not to remove, but to not have looking this way with that sun being there. Maybe moving the camera down, tilting it up just a little bit, that lens flare might have been able to get gotten rid of. That being said, that's a very easy fix. With most editing tools, if you have like a healing brush or any sort of like spot removal tool, you can just literally just click on that and it would be removed, which yeah, you could do. Now, if you were using a different camera, not a mobile phone, with a big lens or a different lens, we have lens hoods. That's what the lens hood does. It blocks the direct light from the sun or a light source from hitting the glass at the front of the lens and creating these lens flares. But even at this angle, I don't know if you would have been able to do that because you're looking kind of directly at the sun. Solid photo. I probably would bring up the exposures just a little bit, just a tiny bit in like the foreground, just so that we can see a little bit more detail. I don't know. Maybe not. It's kind of a nice vibe, nice mood, as Suzanne points out. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3. It's like a nice photo. I don't know if it screams essence of hope. And maybe if there's like a person in here, it'd be more interesting, or something driving by, walking by, something like that to make it more interesting. Abhishek with the Superman with the kryptonite. Hope isn't the absence of struggle. It's the belief that the light we carry is stronger than the shadows we face. Very cool. All right. Well, Abhishek, always getting creative. I like that creativity of setting up the light, the green light, so that you got that on Superman's face. The background as well is very nice. Definitely room for improvement, though, is the focus. It's out of focus. And I think if you... I don't know if it's like a... It's not a... Maybe it's a handheld motion blur. If you had a tripod or something that would have helped. You also... I see a couple areas here where you maybe used a brush or a clone tool or something that looks kind of funky. Something's off there. Also, I think compositionally, it's kind of like a weird composition having your subject, Superman, like on the bottom half. So I would probably get a little bit tighter or something, or tilt down or something as well. So for this photo, I'm going to give it a 2. I think there's a few things there that you can use for improvement for that photo. All right, Todd with a photo of nature. Nice trees, nice colors, nice textures, everything in focus, but it works. It looks good. Camera is a little bit lower, which I like. So all those things I think I really like. I think like the only thing I could think for room for improvement for this specific shot is like doing it at a different time of day when the lighting is more dramatic or interesting. Now it's like very flat, which I think helps and lends itself to getting nice textures and being able to see everything in focus clearly. But for Essence of Hope, maybe having it with like more dramatic lighting would have been helpful. That being said, I really like the trees. Focus is there. Exposures are right there. Good. So I'm going to give it a 3 because there's nothing really wrong with this photo. I think just like to make it stand out a bit more, it needs to have some other element to it, whether it's like a super creative lighting or another subject standing in here or something. I don't know. Yeah. All right. Priya, hope shines brightest in the moments of devotion. All right. Look at that. Well, what do I love about this photo? I love the layering and the depth through the foreground elements that you get here. The lighting and the exposure on this big this Buddha statue thing. And it stands out really well. Nice angle too. Room for improvement. The only thing I would do is probably just pick this line or that one of these lines at the bottom to straighten out the bottom. It would just be a tiny rotation adjustment, and I think it would still like work pretty well. You'd have to play with it. I think like at the same time, I don't know if you pick that one to be the straight line or this staff thing that is in the hand to be perfectly perpendicular up and down. One of those. And if you do that, it means the other is going to be in an angle. So you just kind of have to pick and choose which one's going to be the straight line. That being said, I think you could probably get away with just even cropping in just a tiny bit. I do not like this wire here. You could use a tool to get rid of that wire in like Lightroom or Photoshop to clean up this photo, but that's just there, and you kind of have to deal with that. Overall, though, really great photo. I'm going to give it a 4. Nice framing within the frame of these foreground elements. Lighting and contrast and color, very, very nice. Rain Black with the Ganubi Beach, East London, South Africa photo. And look at that rainbow. That's very cool. Interesting framing with this like cactus in the foreground. I like it. I think it probably makes this a more interesting photo than just like if you had stepped in front of that cactus and were photographing the horizon. I like that you focused on that cactus. That being said, I feel like you could have probably got a little bit closer. There's something about like the balance of the foreground element that's in focus to the background, which is all out of focus, that feels a little out of balance. And I think either cropping like a portrait crop would have been helpful, or just getting down closer to the cactus so that it takes up more of the frame. Like these, I don't know what you call them, the arms of the cactus thing plant would be higher in the frame, but you would still have this beautiful rainbow in the background. And then the other thing I might do with this photo is brighten up the cactus itself, just so that you see it. Overall, everything feels a bit dark. You need that to be able to see the colors of the rainbow. But if you shot in a raw format, even with JPEG, you could probably bring up the shadows on the cactus a little bit to see those details. I feel like this photo is like there's just a couple things that would make this like a 5-star photo for me. I'm almost leaning towards giving it a 3 though, because of all of those things that I think could be used. Like, honestly, if you just cropped it portrait for me and brighten up the cactus, might be a 5-star photo for me. You would lose this rainbow. Maybe crop it to the side just a little bit. I don't know. It's still like a really cool photo. I don't know what you all think. I'm gonna give it a 4. Yeah. Maybe camera down, like maybe a 3. Sorry. I think bringing the camera down and having this part of the cactus above the horizon line would have been cool too. Still, really cool photo though. Ratings don't mean anything. All right, Diana, simple sign of hope. Spring is coming, slowly but surely. Ooh, love that photo. Very cool. This is a 5-star photo for me. I love the focus, the color, the edit is very creative. So not much room for improvement there or critique. I think you desaturated the background, which I think is a cool idea so that we can really focus on the foreground. I don't know if I would back off that desaturation just a little bit, just to have a little bit of color, a little more color. It's so out of focus that I think the flower would probably stand out on its own. Although, I don't know, I'd have to see the original photo. But it's just that stylistic thing that I don't think not everyone's going to be a fan of. That being said, for this photo, it looks really good. Maybe I would have gotten a little like more at an angle. Like if you took your camera and went down to the right just a little bit on the screen, it would be like this way, down to the right, just so that you're like a little bit more like this part of the flower is centered rather than on the edge of it. Still though, really cool photo. I could put that on the wall behind me and it would look pretty good. All right, Cree Harris. This is, interesting. A hope of something more to come. Interesting. Okay, Cree. Getting creative with the little block figure. Very cool. I like the exposure on this little block. You found this nice bit of light coming in through the trees to highlight this area. The edit, the vignetting is very nice as well. Very nice shallow depth of field, but sharp focus on our subject. And I don't really have any room for improvement. This is pretty good. Maybe I would have put our little character up to the left just a tiny bit. Kind of feels in the corner just a little bit too much. But very creative and fun photo. This is a solid 4 for me. 4 leaning 5. All right. Next, we've got Chantel, Ariana, a mother's strength, a baby's trust. Between them, hope is not loud. It's learned one tender moment at a time. Oh, that's cute. That's lovely. Nice framing. Nice sharp focus on the elephants. You have these posts from the barrier fence that are kind of unfortunately right there. Almost wish I could see the whole trunk. Again, this is one of those cases where I could almost live a little tighter or a little bit wider. I don't know what's outside the edges of the frame, but seeing the full ear and trunk of the mother might have been nice. Or just cropping in and filling the frame, but getting rid of this post or cropping in and using that as the edge of the frame might have been kind of cool. But really cool photo. I would say this is like a 3. It's 3 leaning 4. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a 4. All right, I'll give it a 4. I think like story hope wise, it's really nice. There's not much you can do with the framing and composition of a photo like this that you're taking at, I don't know if there's like a zoo or animal preserve or something like that. But just having that stuff in there does detract from the overall photo, unfortunately. Timothy Heaney. My hope is in him while working, drove past this on a country road in Texas. Definitely essence of hope with the crosses there. I like the just sort of the story behind it in terms of like these 3 crosses standing up in the middle of nature. My room for improvement would be, I feel like it's got like a really bluish tint to it. So white balance seems to be slightly off. And then also you got like the horizon line or the landscape line that feels a little tilted. And then you got these wires that are going the other way. I would probably use the cross itself or try to have framed it up and gotten directly in the middle so that the crosses are perfectly perpendicular and straight up and down. But otherwise, solid photo, 3 stars. Yeah, good job. All right, next we got Mirella. This is By the Window. Nice effort in terms of framing up a subject. I don't know if this is a self-portrait or not. At the window. That's very nice. A good use of overexposure from the window, I would say, which can be kind of cool. I would definitely probably back down on the overexposure just a bit. Maybe do more of that in post because you're losing information on your subject's face, and that it has this weird effect that looks like overexposure and stuff going on. So I'd be careful with that. And then I would use this line right here as your straight perpendicular line straight up and down. So crop it, rotate, and use that as straight up and down. And then in post, I would just completely overexpose this so it's pure white because you can see the edge of the photo here. I would just blast that and make it pure white, even if it's just more of like the edge or the corner and not the whole thing. But mostly I just want to, you get some like pixelation stuff going on the face with that overexposure. So I think there's enough things that I'm going to give it a 2, but it's like thematically and story-wise, that it's more of like a 4 for me. All right, next we've got this. Even where construction and man-made constructs takes over, nature finds a way to crawl back. Nice. I like the top-down look here. That's very cool. The lighting is very cool too. I feel like it's in focus. Is it in focus? I can't tell if like the tops of the focus seems like it's more on the texture of the ground beneath the clovers. And so I just be a little bit careful about that. But otherwise, this is like a really cool artistic framing. I don't know what this shadow is here. I like that all these other shadows feel very natural. It looks like it's coming through some plants, but then this one, it feels like it's the hard edge of like a structure, a person, something standing there. So I might have cropped in or something just to get rid of that, but it's a pretty cool photo. I like the green contrasting with the brown, and so I'm going to give you a 4. I like it. Good job, Cree. Or Kaylin, sorry. So that was Cree. All right, Suzanne. Family ritual during aircraft takeoff and landing. Yep. I understand that for sure. Definitely got the essence of hope with the hand holding, but even the light coming in is very nice. The focus is nice. Even with that mobile phone, you get nice sort of shallow depth of field, which is cool. And yeah, exposure's on. You can't see where you are. Maybe like something that would have a room for improvement would have been to try to angle it where you could see like the airplane window in the background, so you know where you're at. You kind of get that from, you can see like the back of the seats here, but you'd have to look pretty close to understand that. So story wise, I think that would be the only thing that can make this better, is being able to frame it up, get that camera closer or down so you can see the windows in the background. But otherwise, really solid storytelling, nice photo. I'm going to give it a 3. I'm being a little bit more critical, I think, than, I don't know. It's a really nice photo. I don't want to detract from how nice this photo is, but aesthetically, creatively, in terms of composition, I don't think it's that creative. And that's the only reason it's not a 4 or 5. All right, Barbara with this one, The Small Warrior, Essence of Hope. This is a very sad photo of little baby. So, man, hard to look at. And it's one of those ones where there's not much in terms of like composition or things that I could change. It's like raw, honest, and hopeful. It's almost hard to look at, but it's reality, and so I think it's something that I'm thankful that this is your grandson, and I'm thankful that you can capture these images to tell the story of your grandson. I think there's a lot of things that you could have, I'm taking back what I just said. I think there are a lot more things that you could have done to capture this more in a interesting composition. It's just like a straight on shot of the grandson, which, you're just capturing more journalistically what was going on. But there's probably different different way to tell the story, like especially if, like, I don't know, if your kids, the parents were there, you could see them in the frame, maybe, yeah, I don't know, just in a different way to frame it up. I'm gonna give it a 3. Story wise, Essence of Hope, solid. Composition, aesthetically, it's nothing like extraordinary, but it's very personal, a very personal photo, very, very similar to the previous one. So yes, the caption speaks of hope for sure, 100%. All right, so that was the Essence of Hope. Wow, good job. We ended up having a lot of posts here today, so thank you to everyone. Quick a couple announcements before you leave. Next week, we've got the Shallow Depth of Field Challenge. I'll be back for that. I can't wait for that challenge because I love Shallow Depth of Field. If you missed at the beginning, something that I talked about was a new supporter offer. So just trying to find a way to balance the time and effort that it takes to run the community with the support that people want and desire. This is a lot based off of the survey results. People saying they want more, they like how it is, and they like the support. But as we get more and more members, time has to be shared in the right way. So what I want you to do is to go to this page here, which is sort of a landing page for a new supporter offer. And this is just an idea right now. There's nothing set in stone about this. And then if you can, do a 2-question survey. The last one was very long, and I appreciate everyone's. We got like over 70 responses, which is amazing for people to go through that long survey and do that. But this one's a 2-question survey. It'll take literally 1 minute. And let me know what you think, because we're trying, just playing around with how to make the community better. But basically the idea is to ramp up, to improve the supporter option, to give more support to those who want it. And you'll see here in the community just a tease at that. This is nothing set in stone. This is just me playing around with an option for having things like a monthly exercise, a showcase, a monthly photographer showcase, where we highlight photography from the members and the supporters and share it with everyone. Supporter chat space. But if there's anything else too, like I know some people would love to do more interactive things like a group call. If that was something that you'd be interested in, let me know. Perhaps it's something where it could be set up where the community does it themselves, and it's just a space where once a week or once a month there's a call where I don't necessarily have to run it, but it's a space for you to get on a call and chat. That could be something, because a few people asked for that. There's no price on this right now. The current supporter price is $5 a month. And maybe that's fair. Maybe with all of this new stuff, you might be willing to pay a little extra. I don't want it to start to be a burden for you at all. So whatever you think is fair, that's the second question in here. But yeah, just let me know. I love your feedback. Might not even do anything. Might just keep it the same. If you want things to just stay the same, maybe we'll just keep it the same. Questions. I say, will we be able to access the survey when the chat links are closed? Yes, I will post this in the announcement as well as in the comments to the live stream, which you probably noticed I changed to frame by frame. Since that's all we're doing with live right now, in the future, if we get back to live Q&As, workshops, and other things, I might add a separate space for that. But in the comments of this stream, I will put it so you have access to that as well. All right, I think that is it for now. As always, have a great day. And where's my have a beautiful day? Yes, there it is. Woohoo! All right, I'll see you next week. And keep posting. Love seeing your work. Have a great time. And I'll see you next time. Bye.